these up then, because I know there is I'm happy to move A and B. We received the report and note that the government has announced the Head Start pathway for councils as part of their process to simplify local government. Seconder, please. Thank you, Tracy. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. And then I guess, do you want to do the next one separately or all together? Either way? Well, they do all kind of tie in together. So if we go C, D and E, that we're agreeing to talk to other councils about potential proposals, that you note that I will lead the conversations on behalf of the CODC and that any proposal developed under the Head Start process will be brought before council for a formal decision prior to the 9th of August deadline. Happy to move that. Can I have a seconder? Thank you, Tracy. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Yeah. Thank you very much. Watch this space. And encourage everybody to hop online. It is live now and it's not a competition, but I would like to see more targets and get the most engagement, of course. Page 284, Mayor's Task Force for Jobs update from Nick and Craig. Welcome.
We've just got a PowerPoint presentation coming up, but I'll essentially be handing over to Craig, our Mayor's Task Force for Jobs coordinator, who's done an extremely good job in placing young people employment over the last 12 months, and we'll provide an update.
Cool, thanks, Nick. Kia ora koutou. Yeah, I'm Craig. I'm the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs coordinator. Feels like a very big privilege to be part of this program. Actually, something really passionate about. Really excited that council are involved. So, what is Mayor's Task Force for Jobs? So that's the next slide. So the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs it's a nationwide network of mayors working together towards all of young people being engaged in employment, education or training. It's been in the country for 25 years. They had their 25th anniversary last year. And at CODC, we've had it since early 2024. Specifically, it's about supporting young people who are not in education, employment or training, and offering one-on-one support to work them into a positive pathway and ultimately employment, usually employment outcomes. Cool. So our journey, so way back in February 2024, we just before I joined, there was a pilot, the council got a funding for a pilot program, then I came on board. And from August 24, we were given some extra funding to the end of June because the pilot was successful, and then we've so far had ongoing funding since then. So this financial year, there's a bit of a change. There's been a greater focus on MSD job seekers, although we do split our time between those who are under MSD and those who are not under MSD. So we still work with anyone under the age of 25 that is neat, and we're very proud. We've quite seriously exceeded our target so far. I think we're up to about 135% of the placements that we've been funded for. So we're pretty proud, and we've just waiting for funding through to June 2027. Had verbal confirmation, just waiting for it in writing. So watch this space. Worth mentioning that the funding, it does come from the Ministry of Social Development through Local Government New Zealand. So exclusively, yes, it's doing the funding. So where it fits in Central Otago District Council, so championed by the Mayor there and the Chief Executive, it comes under the Economic Development Management Department, so I work with Nick in there. But real crucially, and I think a huge part of the reason we've had success here, is I do a lot of collaboration with other council departments, lots of them listed up there. And feel very well supported, and we've actually been recognised nationally by the national manager, who's actually said, "Oh, look, I wish every council could be as supportive as CODC." To recognise your positive for us. So the support that I offer, it's very much one-on-one. And again, I think that's part of the beauty of what we do is we make the young person and actually work out what are their barriers to employment. And that drastically varies across the cross-section of young people I work with. And there's some examples of what we do. I mean, there's all the CV, helping apply for jobs and interview preparation, but also crucially, I go around employers and engage employers and often can find opportunities and vacancies for them to, take on a young person and give them a really good opportunity. So I think that's kind of partly what stands it apart from some other employment programs that are out there. We've got budget to pay for some work gear, for some training, a lot of support with driver's licensing, and that's a huge barrier for a lot of young people as well. So, and with that, once they're in employment, there's all that pastoral support that I still keep offering. Really have an end date on that. It's just as long as we feel they still need that pastoral support, which can help if there's any wee wobbles, especially early on in there when they start going into full-time work. So that helps keep some in employment. And then with employers, we'll get all that support on the side as well. So, lots of barriers for young people. The biggest one is confidence, I'd say. It actually just takes just that one-on-one, the conversations and doing small steps and small goals to try and build them up into the stage where they're ready to actually work full-time. But also it's pretty tough for young people at the moment. There's not many opportunities. So having someone in their court to try and find those opportunities has been really powerful. And a few other things there which we can offer depending on the needs. Oh, so success. So we're pretty proud of this. We worked since we started. We've actually got over 60 young people into work in some form, full-time, part-time, casual. But specifically, this year's targets. Our year's about to end. We were funded initially for 15, but we were doing really well, so they gave us some extra funding to fund us up to 18 placements, and we're actually up to 24 now since I wrote that. Since I wrote that presentation, fingers crossed, maybe 25 in a week. We'll see how it goes with that young person. And we are nationally recognised as one of the top performing councils in the country. I mean, this spreads all the way from the far north down to Southland, and we are, in terms of our achievement against our contracted outcomes, so the percentage of outcomes that we funded for, we're one of the top performing. So the next slide is actually a video, and we're one of 3 councils who decided to come down and film for a national promotion. Go for
it. Mate, come on, get it right, mate. One job. Mate. That's right.
Outline. Just go. No, it's not like this, Dan.
It's like you can see. There you go. I'll put it back to there.
It's a very wide screen, isn't it? It is.
This is the wide screen. Just like at least we share the abuse. What do you mean abuse? There's no abuse here today.
It's all love, Mark.
It's still
all love.
Nationally recognised again. We're getting sick of this. Nationally recognised again and again and again.
It's old.
I want to be under the radar.
Yeah.
It gets run from Central Australia.
Well, I heard it. So a few things will get fixed up pretty quickly.
Yep.
You would chuck him out the front of the meeting for a start. Seemed as dry. Like a young goose. Charlie, why? You just compare them to a young goose. But all shit and feathers. Well, we can email it out.
Yeah.
We can.
Email it around.
Yeah, sweet. Okay, I'll email the link. Yeah, cool. So the last couple of slides was really just about discussing with you how it'd be great if you're willing to help support MTFJ. So really, I guess my question what I'd love to see if the council willing to be involved in spreading the word to employers, to other community groups, a lot of who we kind of work with anyway. Young people, who might be sitting at home neat, as they say, and also parents and caregivers and so on. And I actually recognise there's a couple of people around the table that have already reached out and, given us some opportunities and some leads, which has been really appreciated. So, so that's pretty much the end of my presentation. If you want questions.
I've got questions. Yeah. One thing when COVID came, and it was probably about the start of a lot of that chat, and there was a lot of people retraining, and licenses is a massive issue, right?
Yes.
But it's a massive industry issue for heavy truck, passenger service vehicles, stuff that our community needs. And I proposed then in chat about using the motorsport park to fast track heavy track or passenger licensing. It's a controlled environment where the block, and same to be fair with gun licenses, there's a lot of young people in our community that it's quite a process to get a lot of these things done. And I just wonder whether it's something that the group, the Task Force for Jobs through the help of council can sort of go, well, actually, for some of you children who haven't got the confidence to go out there and do licensing, there's a week-long course or over a month you can fast track your license process. And I just think there's a lot in our community that haven't, and your confidence, I never thought they would be, but there's a lot of younger ones that haven't got confidence, and they're probably not got confidence to play in our sports teams because there's not a B grade sports netball team or a B grade hockey, so they're not getting the confidence in the community. But if you haven't got a license and it's tough and you've been relying on adults or parents, so I think if we could try and understand the biggest confidence the kid to have that ability to go down the street without getting pulled up or
Go to the job in the first place.
yeah. And I know in rural community it's a really tough thing because you'd be 17, you want to do that, but you really can't go out on 6 o'clock in the morning to drive a tractor for a contractor and come home at 10 o'clock at night. You're in breach of everything you're doing. So I think licensing is one of those big things. If we could work with the motorsport park and say there's 50 kids are going to go through, 150 kids, and it gets a wave of confidence in your community.
Yeah, I mean,
On that is a
A big part of the work that Craig does, and it's supported by Drive My Life.
yeah. So there's Drive My Life at REAP. They take people through from their learners all the way through to their full. I do collaborate a lot with them. I refer a lot of people to them, but I have a great relationship with Paddy's the person that runs that, and I'm definitely not stepping on his toes by offering extra lessons in between as well, because they're all volunteer drivers. So sometimes the lessons aren't as regular as we'd hope because they're volunteers. So I do invest quite a bit into.
Well, it's good because I really think it's a big struggle in rural communities, and there's so many opportunities probably if people can get there.
Yeah, and Craig does use another commercial provider as
Yeah.
well to do the wheels, tracks, rollers, forklifts, things like that as well.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
I'd say there was a charity in the West Coast, and they provide vehicles. Try and get kids to drive. But sometimes even getting access to a vehicle to do your driving lessons can be just as important as anything else. There may be something we're willing to sort of look at supporting to help. The opportunity for people to get the experience to get a license.
So they can drive between lessons.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. You can turn up with a vehicle because you can't all borrow Dad's car.
How many full-time staff should we put you down for?
Well, you give us 100, I might be able to keep 2. That's one of the things that I was really keen to find out. Congratulations on 24 positions. What is the retention on that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and we do. I think I'm about 75% at the moment. Yeah. In terms of those that I feel have stayed in the jobs to an extent that feels like they've been there long term. Yeah, 75%.
When you talk long term, what are we talking?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, beyond 6 months because we've only been going for 2 years. So that's all I've got to measure it on. Yeah. Yeah, which is what the MSD, when we report back to the MSD, they also, part of the reporting is if they're in an employment for 6 months or more, they consider that under our contract, they consider that another measure without getting into the nitty gritty of all the contract. 183 days, in fact.
So with the likes of the buildings and that stuff that Greens might be doing at Dunstan High School, and that, are some of those, you're in there with that understanding as well through the schools? Because some kids will get all that and then they get out in the big world and their confidence has disappeared because the structure they like is being there at 9 o'clock and home at 3 o'clock, and they're safe when they're in that structure.
Yeah. So I have there's a category called at risk of NEETs that I can work with, and they're the ones that might technically still be at school. They're still in education, but they're identified as there's a really high chance they're going to leave and become unemployed. And so, yes, they come under my remit as well. So that's more on a sort of one-on-one basis, as opposed to what I don't do is work with the 20 kids that are doing really well in the gateway program or whatever and have already got that pathway. It's the ones that are, pop out effectively. Yeah.
Well done.
No, I agree. It's great. It's great that you're picking all the goals, and like that 60 people in placement over the course of the program is phenomenal. And it is for these kids, they just need that confidence and a leading, guiding hand to get them into the job. And then I'd say probably for the rest of their life, they're sort of, because that first job's the hardest one. They get purpose from work, they save a bit of money, and they just, they go that pathway instead of the wrong one. So, yeah. Great.
And the sharing industry used to be really good at bringing kids through because they go out, mum and dad in the sharing industry, and then the health and safety law put it over the workplace. And a lot of those kids did it, and they were really good at it. Kids would just be playing in the van or being at work on the weekends with mum and dad. And even now, a lot of farms encourage them to bring the kids and do stuff because they're all helping out and learning. But if they left, if mum and dad got to work, a lot of those kids just sit at home and don't get the chance. So good luck.
You're doing an outstanding job, Craig, and I would just highlight that this program is fully funded by the Ministry of Social Development, which maybe highlights what you can achieve locally when the government gives you some money. Thank you very much.
See you in person.
The recommendation is that the report be received and its contents noted. Thank you, Stu and Curtis. Those in favour? Against? Carried. We are now going to have a quick break and we will be back here at 3:45, please.
I see you.
We are now going to move to item 26.5.18, which begins on page 286. Tracy and I are not going to participate in this discussion, so I'm going to hand it over to Stu.
Thank you very much. Dylan.
Thank you, Stu. I'll very quickly give you a bit of background because obviously we've already had a conversation before. So at the March meeting, we as staff committed to coming back to you in May with more information relating to the process, the timeline, the risks and the costs associated with taking a local bill to Parliament to get a legislated resolution to the minimum flow of the Maungharukega River. In the paper, we've noted, I guess we've answered those questions as best we can with the information we have on hand at the moment. A couple of key risks I'll highlight for you right now is we do need to confirm that this is the right legislative approach. We won't know that until we engage with the Parliamentary Council Office and also with the legal firm to support us. Indications are at the moment this is the right option, but we can confirm that once we engage. We will not make everyone happy. And I want to quote Tamer from previous projects that the reality of much of what we do doesn't make everyone happy. But actually, if we come away from this and we've made everyone a little unhappy, probably done a good job. And there's no guarantee of success. We may get this all the way to Parliament, it may not get past this criterion. So those are, I suppose, are the key ones I just want to highlight for you. There are many others as noted in the paper. Should councillors be of mind to progress, we will undertake a normal procurement process to kickstart that program to engage with engagement and legal expertise. I guess it states in the paper, we view this as a pragmatic solution to getting a resolution to something that has been outstanding for a very long time. There is no other means to get a resolution at this stage that we are aware of. It has been questioned on a number of occasions before March. Was this actually CODC's role? Again, we don't see there being any other solution. So we're putting one on the table, which again, we think is pragmatic. Council does have a direct interest, obviously, in the river, primarily because we take water from it as a source of drinking water for our communities. But of course, we also have our cultural, environmental, social and economic interests in our wider region. And of course, the river is part of that and looking after those communities that are affected. So I'll leave it there. The paper's obviously got the information there. Peter, I'm not sure if you have anything else you want to add.
No, look, I think you've covered it all. We have gone out to some legal firms and pretty comforting with what's come back, and it's a decision we'll have to make as to which one we partner up with, because we will partner up with one, but we've received some good advice from them initially anyway on our way forward. So.
Any questions?
Have you or will you engage directly with MRL early on?
We have, and we will continue to do so. So that would be one of those key stakeholders.
So should they be in the resolution? See, and
We can certainly add those. Yeah, we didn't list every stakeholder.
but I mean, they're a key one that essentially they will be part of, if it's progresses, they will be building the dam, so they will, I'd put them on the same level as those other two stakeholders personally.
We will eventually decide on what the flow rate will be, recommended flow rate, I should say. Correct my thinking, we'll be hearing from all those interested parties. So we've got one extreme this side and one extreme that side. Now, the ORC couldn't make a decision. Well, they tried to.
Offer a decision.
Well, they
just
tried
couldn't
to.
legislate it.
Yeah, they couldn't legislate it. Do we face same problem? Is this legislation circumventing that process?
I would say no, because if you follow the process of the local government bill and we work our way through it, that decision comes back to this council. The government stopped ORC from enacting their process. And so it's within this council's means, as long as we follow the process and advice we subsequently get saying this is a legal remedy to resolve the situation, perfectly legal, then it's this table that would make the decision. Now, you might not reach a decision or whatever, but
So it's important, I think, that we do draw a line in the sand, because that's something which hasn't happened in the last 20 years. This debate's been going on. And I concur with the earlier comments about whatever we do, we're going to piss somebody off.
But remembering the parliamentary select process, if the bill gets through the first reading, will also be an opportunity through select committee for groups to submit for, against, improve, whatever, as part of that process.
So then the select committee will then have the final recommendation to Parliament.
Correct. Yep. So once we put it to Parliament.
Yep.
You have no control
Okay.
as to where it goes.
It's worth noting that our ongoing responsibility through the parliamentary process.
Yes.
So we have to be a part of the submissions process. So the select committee process. So I wasn't fully aware of that. So there is an ongoing commitment of this council right through.
See it right to the end.
So the estimates of what this is costing us have included the factors that we may be going back and forth to Wellington, the
The higher end
higher end.
would.
Yep.
Yeah. And look, again, we haven't gone through our full procurement process. So what we've got here is indicative numbers from legal firms and engagement specialists who can help us. When we go through our full procurement process, we'll get much clearer. I suppose actually, sorry, one risk I also didn't raise, and I did in the paper, but it's another one that should be noted as well, is the resource drag this will create on the organisation. This will suck up resource of the organisation to support this.
So currently you're asking for council support, but can't confirm what it's going to cost.
We've given you
The duration, yes.
Yeah, so what we've given you there is what's come back from those experts, both engagement and legal, around their anticipated timelines and also their indicative costs.
So will you be coming back to us for final sign off once you've got a better idea what it's going to cost?
Today.
Just to know the day.
What I would do is if it was above that upper level, then I think we have to come back to you.
Yes.
If we were inside of that, then I don't think you would want us to
Okay.
come back again.
In the process, if legal challenge occurs, does that occur back at us, or is that more select committee, once it enters the process?
Well, I guess in Saskia, I can say doctorates in law. I've been on both sides of the court martials, but
Once it's enacted, it can't be appealed.
well, no, that's right, at a government process, but at our process, all decisions of council can be challenged for judicial review, and that looks at the process that council used to make
As
the
opposed
decision.
to the actual decision.
That's right. As long as we follow the process under the Local Government Act for consultative processes and all that sort of stuff, should be okay.
And this process from the Parliamentary Council Office is very prescriptive. And we're seeking to use experts who've done this before. So reducing or mitigating that risk as much as we possibly can.
And just clarify for me, this is not a case of a members bill going into the tin to be drawn out. This is actually, this is a local government. And it gets more weight. Yes. Thank you. Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah, how does it sit with the RMA and the legalities there around the fact that it's deemed as regional council's role to set volumetric flow rates?
So that's one of the things, I guess, going back to that first point, that we need to confirm with
Yes.
the Parliamentary Council Office that this is the right legislative mechanism.
So how early in the process can we?
That would be very early in the process, because we have to notify them the conversation when the right can start and appoint a legal term.
So if we move this paper today, that still allows that to happen, and if that
Yeah.
comes back, what do we
When they
do
come
then?
back and say, this is not the right way to do it,
And be.
Another one I want to raise, is this the right timing to be doing this, given what's going on? It's an election year, there's government reform, there's RMA reform. Is there a real rush to be doing this in the next 12 months or the next 24 months?
Yes,
See
so-
where all that dust settles.
So Peter and I have discussed this one. We actually think with all that going on, this is actually the best time to do it, because any further delays, this mechanism may be taken away from you in the future. Particularly if there's a unitary or something else where you actually have an impact on the ability to set them in the flow in the future. So if you delay further, the risk is this opportunity doesn't.
I said,
Mindful that this is something that hasn't been solved for a long time. So like, we can't just keep, if we want a solution, we need to.
well, the whole time I've been involved in community board and council, this has been one of the biggest issues driving this valley. And we've got an opportunity to put a peg in the sand. As long as the process allows us to put a peg in the sand, and that's what we will find out, and that's your job, or Peter's job, and take on the information that we're getting and make a decision, because clearly others haven't made that decision. But this table has made some very strong, hard decisions, and I think this is just one of them. And if we don't do this properly, the chances of the regional deals and Falls Dam in the future just get delayed and delayed and delayed, or not happen. So the timing is probably critical that we go and go through this process now. And we, we'll be consulting with everyone on the way through anyway. It's a part of that process, but we will be called to make a decision if we are allowed to make the decision, and that'll come down to powers beyond us. Like, no bones about it, we will make a decision. As long as I'm at this table, there'll be a decision made, that's for sure.
This process actually take from where to go.
So indicatively, best case is a year and a quarter.
So it's quite fast.
More
really.
likely 2 years in reality.
So it would be resolved before any amalgamation takes place.
So
Just-
some of the legal advice we had, so obviously there's the process up front about preparing and drafting the local bill and the engagement with stakeholders and things. The advice we had that essentially once that's done, the bill was drafted and put into Parliament, it's about an 8.5 month process. So it's Parliament.
How long for parliamentary services to indicate whether this is
I would imagine it would be pretty quick. But no,
in a few months?
I would more think within the month.
Oh, really? Okay.
Not fast track it.
I'm not touching that one, Charlie.
Within a month, you could have a real hard steer. It's not the way to go.
I would, let's say 2 months maybe.
Yes.
Just for safety.
Any more questions, Marty?
What are the risks associated with the fact that we're just going to get bogged down in the same process that the ORC got bogged down is listening to counter arguments, and we're sitting here dazed and confused.
We only make a recommendation on the flow. We don't make the decision though.
No.
So that we could make recommendations. I'll carry on. Sorry.
No, we
You
make
draft the paper, you write down what the recommended.
Yes, it's a recommended flow, but they could still change it.
Parliament may choose to change it.
After they've been through select committee. That's what I'm getting at.
You will have to,
Make a recommendation. Yes, I realise that, but we're not making a firm decision on what it is.
no, because that,
No. But to get to that recommendation, we're going to have to juggle all that science that's been. What I'm saying is there's a check on that if it's not, hopefully it's right, or hopefully we get it right, but ultimately it doesn't hang on us.
But the other thing about that is you're talking about a different bunch of people that actually are looking at it a different way and who are not at each other's throats with agendas and are actually open-minded to simply listen to the argument and decision.
We're the neutral in the
Well-
gearbox.
Well, we're not at each other's throats.
And that is one of the issues. There used to be every time the irrigator type group was over there and the environmental and regional council were over there, and a lot of it never got in the middle. And way back, you'll remember way back, we'd have discussions about Falls Dam. This group represents everyone in the community. Environmentalists, the Greens, the farming, the building the industry. So really in a fair way, as long as everyone follows the process,
Yeah.
which has been formed and discussions have been had in the whole 28 years, over 20 years I've been involved in politics. So discussions, it's all there, but it'll have to come back round again. And I don't think we can afford not to do if we want the next 100 years of water security in this valley, especially this valley, and and you just have to do it.
Well, at the end of the day, it's an aging dam. It needs replaced. And this is the first stumbling block, and we're in the business of local infrastructure. And this is something that the communities rely on we rely on for drinking water supply. The community relies on economically and socially. And we've got to get on and enable the community to go ahead with the solution to replacing the dam.
How do you handle the resource drain as such?
Look, well, part of it is using that funding that we've nominated or identified out of the money that was paid with the signing of the access agreement. So that gives us a reasonable amount of money to start this process. We might have to use, we'll obviously be engaging a law partner up with us and with us step by step through the process. If we need some additional resource, then we might have to go out and use it. If we can sequence things and that when it comes to things like the consultative stage, if there is a blank spot within our current engagement processes, then we will. But if the decision is to proceed to the next stage, then we will resource it. That's a simple answer.
Financially, for the ratepayers, we are committing today to a maximum at 250. Is that what I've said? And it's only listed as indicative.
So not necessarily.
If we go through this procurement process and it comes up, you would say today, or if you want to put in a contingency,
Speed it because you're halfway through the process.
And in fact, we've actually got the funds there already.
Yes.
the funds are there, but they can buy a lot of other stuff as well.
Any other discussions?
Happy to move the recommendations.
I think you wanted to add the HI that which is engaged Kia River Limited. Yeah,
The same as the.
same language as GH.
HI engage with them. With their group.
Mainly Hurricane River Limited, yeah.
Other discussion, Martin moved, I've seconded, Andrew seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried, thank you very much.
Moving to page 293, application of proceeds from sale and disposal of lots. 1, Mutton Town Road. And done.
Thank you, councillors. I'm hoping this will probably be the quickest decision you get to make today.
I'm going to add something to it.
Look, we were asked last time to bring a paper in relation to where the proceeds of the sale of Mutton Town Road observation ponds should go. Having done some research, it was quite clear that there was no decisions made in the past as to what should happen to the sale proceeds. However, there was a clear indication in a report in July 2022, which basically said that the proceeds of the sales will be used to offset future wastewater renewals and upgrades. I want to reiterate, there is no resolution to that effect. It was just part of a report. But in the absence of anything else that I've read, it's probably the clearest indication of what the council of the day wanted to do with the proceeds. However, as no resolution was made, you're not bound to that. So it's really the recommendation that we have made is in relation to, was put into that paper in July 2022. So hence why we're recommending that it goes back to the wastewater reserve for future renewals, but open to any questions.
The only comment I'd like to make is that I totally agree it should go to wastewater reserve, tagged for used in the Vincent ward.
The strip, so yeah.
Just Royal Fund. That's, no, it's just one from it. There's nothing stopping us from tagging this. So it came out of the Vincent County, it goes back into the Vincent Ward.
I think the original discussion and here I'm looking at Julie, wasn't it tied to the Clyde reticulation?
Well, it was Vincent County Council.
Yes, it was Clyde, well, yeah.
It was tied to the Clyde Waste.
And then it gets tied to the Clyde, it stays here.
Why don't you tie it?
It'll just go out to Three Waters, Southern Water done well with a lower dead amount drain fees.
No, that's right. Look, one thing too is that
I'm not saying.
this nominal amount of money in on the 30th of June next year, all our debt goes and all our reserves and water goes to the CCO. So it all cross the line, the pluses and the minuses.
Just transfer less debt to Southern Waters done well.
So Charlie's got a really good idea.
Take it out the money from there and put it into land, just buy a bit of land.
You can do what you like, process, that's what I'm saying. What I'm actually pinning the recommendation on is the intention of the council. I guess then if you look at that and say, could we buy some land? Given the intention was it to go back into wastewater, should you be actually then spending that money on land in relation to wastewater? I guess keeping that linkage, but as I say, the council can make whatever decision it likes around the disposal and the use of that money. In answer to your question, councillor, not sure of the agreements that are going to be put in place when Southern Water takes the assets and the liabilities of the Three Waters, and whether buying that fund to Vincent area is actually potentially worth anything beyond 1 July.
Is it feasible after 1 July? Probably not.
Yeah, so I mean, those are the types of things you've got to think about.
It just seems we've had a nice little cash windfall. It would be better to be off our books in a month's time, and
Well, therefore, if we can do what we want with it, we just buy a parcel of land. It's land sale for land sale.
I just,
Well,
Yeah, fair point.
didn't we have earlier on in this discussion, in this meeting, sorry.
Sorry, Bob, can you?
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go, Bob. Yeah.
Okay. Earlier on in this meeting, we were talking about wastewater from the airport. I mean, wouldn't this be, something that we could fund that with? Wastewater, after all.
Struggling to deliver capital projects now. Got a year to go before you lose the money.
Yeah, that wastewater discussion was in relation to the long-term plan.
Yeah.
When we've lost the responsibility for wastewater, and it's transferred across to Southern Waters.
Okay, sorry. Yep. Okay.
really? I was just thinking if you didn't want to put it into wastewater, the other alternative that was discussed at the previous meeting was property general or Vincent property general. Given that we are not going to increase wood-based reserves specifically, you could sell it and invest that money and use that to generate interest to offset rates for the future, which is something that we're going to be talking about in public excluded, and specifically in the Gear Avenue space.
Applicable across the district.
Yes.
And that's what we've been talking about, is establishing some form of investment vehicle,
Absolutely.
future of all.
Selling land for land or selling land for an investment.
And that's what I'm thinking. We should be putting the resource back into lead.
That goes to the other point, why sell the land in the first place?
Yeah. We had to sell land because it was taken under the Public Works Act.
But at the last meeting, you resolved. to-
Yeah, I know, I'm just.
So as far as we're concerned, we're just dealing with the proceeds of the land, not.
So when this land was first purchased in the Vincent County Council, it would have been rated for as purchase it by water rates?
Oh, pre-89, I was just out of university, so that's a long time ago.
That would have been the
Still
Vincent
shitting yellow.
So
County, the Clyde
It
resident.
was purchased in nineteen
Just trying to
eighty-one. Vincent County
Make
Council,
it money in the bank.
under the Public Works Act, for the purposes of a wastewater.
that's what I'm getting at, yeah.
I'm not sure if that bit was compulsory acquired though. The previous bit that we subsequently sold was acquired.
That was compulsory.
This was a compulsory acquisition, whereas this was just a subsequent sale. So I don't think we don't have obligations to offer it back the same.
No, this one was a voluntary sale, so
Oh, it
you
was.
need to take it over PW.
Don't have to sell it
Just-
from that landowner. Keep it if you wanted.
In due diligence. So we've done a section 40 review, and we've even tried to contact the previous owner just to make sure that we're following all the stuff. But he's moved on, into another world, and so we've done our due diligence. So there's not even that argument anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, sorry, Julie, going back, what was told to the community of Clyde when, with regard to that piece of land, was there any connection? What did,
Those that are around the table, when we did. In 2018, we went out and consulted around doing wastewater reticulation project. COVID struck, costs of that project skyrocketed basically. And so as part of the 2018 consultation, we said to the community that income from the land sale would be used to help fund the project. Then the costs just ballistic really post-COVID. And there was that July 22 report came back where we said they're going to have to raise some. That point, still saying that the income from the land would be used to help go towards funding the project. So council didn't have to raise as much debt, or alternatively, income from the sale of the land. We kind of got into that transition period where we were going to be transferring to an NTU. So that's what we said, the income from the sale of the land would be used to pay the interest costs in the period so that the ratepayers weren't funding reduced rates on that project for a period of time. And then of course that because the sale of the land, none of those things have eventuated. What is the income going to be used for now? So there is still the debt against the Clyde Wastewater project, but it is projects in districtised. So I use the project, but I can't know in reality. I mean, we districtised the borders that would actually be of any specific benefit to the people of Clyde
Across the board.
so effectively, if it would just be that the debt would be less that gets transferred into Southern Waters. So it's less of a burden on,
It'd be an indirect benefit,
Yeah.
yeah.
but still would be benefit.
Yeah, it'd still be a benefit to the water users. Tracy.
Sorry, listening to this, what Julie was just saying. What we're hearing is that over time, the proceeds have changed and changed and changed. There's been changes to so then if you logically think about it, if we were of the mind to do something different, it would just be another sequence in the sequence of change.
Yeah, we've got two
And-
options there before us.
Yeah.
Put it in wastewater reserves or put it in property reserves, general property.
Property.
Okay, so it sounds like
Option two.
it's going to be a change to the proposal. So recommendations that we receive the report and accept the level of significance. Agree to transfer the net sales to the property general reserve. Agrees to cover the costs incurred to date in relation to the original purchase and subsequent sale. Removal for ABC, Martin, seconded, thank you, Nathan. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Not quite as straightforward as you initially anticipated, Paul. This is what happens in council sometimes.
I will.
We go around poking our noses.
Financial report. with Donna, and it begins for you on page 296.
Take the paper as being read. So this report discusses the financials as at the 31st of March 2026. For the first, for the 9 months of the financial year, the council has an overall unfavourable operating variance of 4.89 million, with an operating surplus of 11.3 million. The revenue continues to be unfavourable. And it is mainly due to your other revenue and your land and asset sales, which are behind, as well as interest revenue. The land sales are behind, as you know, from Dunstan Park and the timing of the Bannockburn Industrial Subdivision, with your other revenue being lower due to the timing of funding from the Cromwell Museum fit-out project, as well as the remaining insurance payout for the Roxbury Entertainment Centre. Expenditure has a favourable variance of 29,000. This is basically got favourable variances in finance, other expenses, as well as cost of sales, and that's offsetting the unfavourable variances in personnel cost and the depreciation expense. So the depreciation expense is higher, as we've already discussed throughout the year, and that is mainly due to the 30 June 2025 fixed asset revaluations. Capital expenditure has a favourable variance of 4.3 million, with 61% of the overall yearly revised budget being spent to date. And it's alluded to in previous reports, all your projects are in different stages, from investigation to design to under construction. The biggest project that we're doing, the Te Punamahara project, is wrapping up shortly, and most of the expenditure should be in for the end of the financial year. At present, we have $85 million in external debt. We will be doing a final review of all of our capital expenditure before the end of the financial year to determine what that final debt requirement is, but that is as at today. Are there any questions?
When will that review happen?
It will probably happen very early June, just to make sure that we get most of our May invoices through, and so we can actually identify what we really need, because we have to lift it in tranches. We can't just lift it on a dollar value.
It would be, sorry, would it be fair to assume it'll still track below your forecast for now?
It should track probably at least 30 million below forecast, just due to the capital programs that have actually been into the annual 26-27.
So out of that 81, there is a component that's still hangover from the hall, isn't it? From the hall, from the Te Punamahara?
Yeah, can you please repeat the whole question?
So there's still part of that 81, that's the total debt.
Oh, the 85.
Sorry, 85, is it?
So we've, sorry, that's you were losing me. So majority of the debt for the Te Punamahara project has already been uplifted. We do have to take into consideration all the final funding that has been able to be received, and we'll tally that up as well. So that is a project that we're looking in once all the final invoices come in, we'll be able to identify that.
So of that 85, 65 belongs to 3 members, so 20 resides with CODC. I think,
Yeah. It's about 17 as per the original
Yeah.
agreement, being for.
Land sale's going to offset that at the time that it comes in.
yeah, that the plan is that we anticipated that we'd be holding the debt for about 5 years while they go through the process of developing the Bannockburn land, and then the first port of call on the land after effectively the seed funding for the next stage is going to be the repayment of the debt. So we are capitalising the interest into the debt. So they'll pay for that out of the sale proceeds, yep.
Questions? Recommendation that the report be received. Member Mover, thank you, Bob and Curtis. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you very much, John. Now move to the news report. And in the interest of time, and since I spent quite a lot of time talking to you guys about all the, anyway, I'm happy to take it as read. I'm happy to move it. Stu's happy to second it. Those in favour? Yes, carried. Page 316, we have the governance report. And all the status reports. Has anybody got any questions on any of the status updates?
Second that.
Thank you, Martin. Those in favour? Against? Carried. From page 352 is our community board and committee minutes.
It's taken as read.
Those in favour? Against? Carried. Fantastic, thank you. And that takes us to the date of our next meeting, which is the 10th of June, which is not a usual meeting day, but we do need to make some decisions about the rating review system. So we are putting a formal meeting at the front end of that workshop so that we can make decisions in the meeting format. So if you're watching online, don't panic that you've missed the meeting day. There will still be a meeting at the end of June as well. And now for the reasons outlined on page 380. Move that we move into non-public discussion. Can I have a seconder, please? Tracy, those in favour? Against? Carried. Wayne will just swap us over.
So, 30th.